Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a fresh copy of Kingswood by 25th Century Games. Kingswood is a worker placement resource generation game for 1 to 5 players. I first played the game on Tabletop Simulator and really enjoyed it. To set up, the forest and the King's Tally scoreboard are always in this position, with the scoreboard in the middle and the forest directly underneath with the monster deck underneath it. With these other locations out here, you will always include 4 of the common locations, every game with 1 special location included. These 5 locations will be shuffled randomly together and then placed out in a random order to make a total of 6 locations. On your turn, you'll be leaving one of the locations and performing its action, and visiting one of these locations and performing its action. Some of these locations have a choice of what action to take, or others might only have 1 action. Players are trying to rid any and all monsters from the surrounding forest, earning the Players Guild increased fame and glory. Each player starts with a specific guild that gives them the stated starting resources and a special action. To defeat monsters in the forest, you will need specific resources stated on those cards. For example, this goblin gang requires a sword and a heart. Each monster card states what resources are required to defeat it, any bonuses for defeating it, like this sun sprite, it lets you refresh 1 heart. And on the bottom it shows you how many fame points that card gives you. Some monsters score extra points if you collect a specific type, like these ghosts. They will score you an extra point for each wraith you collect later in the game. And there are always 3 monsters available in the forest. The resources that you need to collect consists of swords, spellbooks, hearts, and coins. Coins are money, and when you spend them, they are gone and they'll go back into the supply. Swords, spellbooks, and hearts are a little bit different as they represent the skills your guild has attained. Each of these tokens have 2 sides, a refresh side and an exhausted side. When you use a skill resource to defeat a monster, you don't lose that resource permanently. You just flip it from the refresh side to the exhausted side. You will then be able to visit locations in the village to refresh your resources to use again. Or you can visit locations to gain more of these resources. And when gained, it will always start on the refresh side. There are 3 adventures placed on 3 of the 6 locations. And after the first player goes, there is a King's Guard on another. During your turn, you will either explore or collect, with exploring being the main action that you will be doing. When exploring, you will choose any one of the 3 adventurers to move. Those are the blue guys. Whichever adventure you choose, you will use the ability of the location where your chosen adventurer starts. I will go over these actions later, but know that you first take the action in the location of the adventure that you move, and then you will also take the action of the location where the adventurer ends. The adventurer can be moved to any open location that doesn't have another adventurer on it, or not the location where the King's Guard is at. If you move to an adjacent location from where the adventure started, then there is no cost, and you will take that location's action. You can also skip over locations, occupied or not, paying 1 coin for each location that you skip. You can also move in either direction around the circle, but you cannot directly skip across the middle, because the scoreboard is not a location. After you move, you would have taken an action where the adventure started, and another action where it ended, possibly paying gold if not ending on an adjacent location. The King's Guard, this red meeple, is then moved to where the adventurer started, blocking this spot for the next player. If for whatever reason you can't explore by moving one of the adventurers, or you don't want to, you can take the collect action by removing the King's Guard from its current location and placing it to the side. And then you will gain 2 coins from the supply. The Explore option has the higher potential to gain the most resources, and the Collect option is there in case you planned poorly or you get stuck by a very strategic player. Now let's go over these locations, starting with the 4 common locations that will be included in every single game. The Academy, you will choose 1. You can pay 1 coin to refresh all of your exhausted spellbooks, or you can pay 1 coin to gain a spellbook token. The Blacksmith, you will choose one of these options. You can pay 1 coin to refresh all of your exhausted swords, or you can pay 1 coin to gain a sword token. The Tavern, you'll choose one of these options. You can pay 1 coin to refresh all of your exhausted hearts, or you can pay 1 coin to gain a heart token. The market, here you will gain 3 coins. Now let's get into the special locations, and again, there will be only one of these in each game. The bakery. Now here you can do one of these or both of these actions. Refresh 1 heart at no cost, and or capture a monster from the forest. The game parlor. You choose one of these options. You can either pay 1 coin to gain a sword token, or you can pay 1 coin to gain a heart token. The graveyard. Here you can swap a monster that you've already defeated for a monster in the forest that is worth 1 fame point more. This will increase your fame total, adjusting your score and marker accordingly. If the newly acquired monster has a reward, then you do not gain that reward, but you will still get any in-game bonuses. The King's Castle. You may do one or both of these options. You can refresh 1 sword at no cost, and or capture a monster from the forest. The Manor House. You can choose one of these options. You can refresh 1 sword at no cost, or you can refresh 1 spellbook at no cost. The Potion Shop. You can pay 1 coin to refresh 1 heart, 1 sword, and 1 spellbook, and you can use this ability even if you don't have an exhausted token of all 3 types. The Witch's Hut. So here you can use the ability of the location where the Kingsguard Meeple is at, as if you were there, and you must pay any cost for that location. The Wizard's Tower. Here you can do one or both of these options. You can refresh 1 spellbook at no cost, and or reveal the top card of the monster deck. If you have the resources available, you can immediately defeat it using those resources in the usual way. If not, then you will return the card to the top of the deck. Some special locations will also let you capture a monster, which is different from defeating a monster. So to do this, you will choose one of the revealed monster cards and you will tuck it face down so that others can't see it under your guild card. Now, whenever you visit the forest in the future, you can defeat this captured monster in the usual way, but you can only have 1 captured monster at a time, and if you never end up defeating this monster by the end of the game, then it is not counted toward your score. As you take your actions, you will see that your planning and your strategy is curtailed to what you have and what you need to defeat a monster, or 2 or 3, as when you go to the forest, you can fight as many number of monsters in there as you want or can, which leads to varying strategies of, do I go get this 1 monster now before someone else gets it, or do I try to collect more resources so that when I go to the forest, I can defeat 2 or even 3 monsters at a time? But wait, now the monsters have all changed, and you might need to then gain more resources to defeat the new ones. And now, do those other resources that you already have sit there, and maybe later on another monster pops up that you can use those remaining resources on? As you can see, your situation changes if you don't visit the forest, so planning for when is a good time for your situation is key. Things could be better for you being able to fight several monsters at a time, but things can go worse as well. Players all take turns until a player reaches at least 20 fame from the monsters that they have defeated. Play continues until the player to the right of the starting player has taken their last turn, so that all players get equal amount of turns. Players will add up any bonus fame from their monster cards, and the player with the highest fame wins the game. So the worker placement works very nicely in this game because locations will at times be either open or closed. With 6 locations, one with the Kingsguard on it means it's off limits for this turn, making 5 locations. So really your first question is which of the 3 locations you want to use. And the next question is what location do you want to move them to? Adjacent locations that you want are great as you don't need to pay extra coins to go there, but paying a coin to really get what you want is also needed at times. The coins tend to be very important in the game as you don't want to be poor. This makes the market another highly sought out and visited location. Coins are used to purchase the other resources, to visit certain locations not adjacent to the adventure's starting location, and also at times to pay the toll to defeat some monsters. So money is used in various ways and tends to be very important in the game. The other resources all are used and gathered, but you never really lose them as you pay money to flip certain ones back over to use them again. And this resource economy is actually pretty nice as it adds to decisions as to whether you should just buy a new resource as it comes refreshed, or do you use money to refresh all of your exhausted resources to use them all again. Paying 1 coin to refresh 4 or 5 resources is pretty nice. This game just really hits the right spot for me, and I feel like it's in the light to medium weight category, but what I think I really actually like is that it's pretty easy to teach and play. Yet, there is so much strategy and planning that can be used while playing the game. I say can because you actually can play this game just 1 turn at a time and you will do okay. But you also can play the game on another level. And so different players who like to play games on different tracks or different levels can play a great game together and both still feel satisfied and enjoy what the game has offered them. Henry Audubon is quickly growing as a designer that I really like. Parks was one of my top games of 2019, and now Kingswood this year is ranking in the top 10 of 2020 for me. So grab your swords, spellbooks, your money, and even your hearts to face monsters in the forest in Kingswood by 25th Century Games. Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.